Good afternoon guys, welcome again to another gear review video I'm doing on my YouTube channel. This time I'm going to be reviewing the new Tamron SP 15 to 30 f2.8 lens with vibration. I presume the VC stands for vibration control, but it's got in layman's terms it's got image stabilization. I've had this lens for a couple of weeks now and I've been shooting with it on and off, and being a true Canon supporter by heart, it's been a little bit difficult to get used to the different way that the zoom ring works. With the Canon it's anti-clockwise, with this it's zooming clockwise. So if you're in a hurry and you're doing a run and gun shoot, you might just end up moving it the wrong way. Anyway, other than that, looking at the build quality, it's really built solid. It's a really sturdy lens. If you hold it, it feels like quality. It's got a metal body of some sorts, but it's a really nice built lens. The negative thing about the build is, and obviously that's because of the 2.8, it's heavy. Now if you're going to be walking a long distance with this lens, like let's say you're going to be out and about shooting landscapes up and against the mountain like where we are right here now, it might be heavy to carry around. The other thing, I shot with this at a wedding, and with my 1740 Canon lens being my workhorse lens, the weight difference between the two is astronomical. I shot with this at a wedding. It's great at the wide angles. The only problem is it was freaking heavy. To carry this around the whole night, shooting with it one hand, up above people, down below, it gives you a proper workout. It really does give you a workout. But other than that, I'm really happy with the quality I've seen from it. Right, let's get down to a couple of the little nitty-gritty things. It's got the vibration control in, or the IS, image stabilization, whatever you wanna call it. I personally don't see the point in having image stabilization at the lens this wide, because you can easily shoot this handheld at 1/15th, 1/10th of a second without even needing to worry about image stabilization. So personally for me, I think it's a little bit of a sales gimmick. I've not seen any major improvements in my photos between my 1740, which doesn't have image stabilization, versus this that does have it in. None of my other lenses got image stabilization. I've never had to use it. But on something this wide, I don't see it being to a major advantage to you. On a long lens, yes, because then you've got that up and down movement, camera shake that might happen. But on something wide, it's so forgiving. You can literally shoot it at 1/10th of a second without any hassles, freehand. It's got nice solid rubber rings here with really good grip, so it's easy to grip, easy to move. There's nothing wrong with it. I've got the lens cap on here. I'll take the lens cap off in a minute. And this is most probably my personal only negative thing about this lens. This is on my Canon 6D body, and you can see it's big. It's about the size of a 24-70 lens for a 15mm, versus my 1740, and I'll do a comparison, a photo with the two of them next to each other, is like most probably up to there and about 2/3 of the dimension of this. So and it's a lot lighter. Right, now here comes most probably the biggest downside to this lens to me, is if you take off the lens cap, you'll see it's got a huge big bulbous front element that just screams scratches and knocks, and I am scared out of my wits to knock this thing against something. If you zoom it into 30 millimeters, it's pulled in to the back. If you zoom it out to 15, it moves all the way to the front. Now personally, if you're going to buy a lens that can go from 15 to 30, you're going to shoot it at 15, because that's what it's made for. And especially if you want to shoot wide angle stuff, you're going to go to 15, which means your element will be right at the front there. The other downside of this is there's no filter thread. You physically cannot put any graduated filters on here, ND filters, UV filters for whatever they're worth, which is nothing, you cannot put this on this lens. And for being a landscape lens and a landscape shooter like myself, you're going to need filters, because if you've got to shoot bracketed exposures while you're sitting with a set of filters you spend a good couple of thousands of rands on, you're going to want to use them, and you can't use them on this. If you take my Canon 7040, or if you take a Canon 16-35, both of them can take filters, and I'll show you in a minute the difference in width between the 17 and the 15, and that 1mm of the 16mm is also not going to be a major difference. So what's the point in having this? For landscapes, the 2.8 really only comes into play if you're shooting nightscapes. I've done some nightscapes with this. It was fantastic, really fantastic. I was actually pleasantly surprised by what I got at f2.8 versus what I got at on f4 on my 1740, which has been my workhorse landscape lens for since I had it. But if you're going to be shooting normal landscapes like what we've got here, and you want to put a filter in to stop down the sky, which you can see in the video is quite dark, you won't be able to do it. You'll need to shoot bracketed exposures, which will cause extra processing time and not as natural looking final product as you would have had when you were shooting with ND filters. So that's my main drawback to this lens. If you're going to buy this for a wide angle to shoot wide angle stuff with, and to shoot nightscapes, if you're shooting events or weddings, stuff where you don't need filters, perfect, nothing wrong with it. Even the video guys, guys doing lots of DSLR video, they won't even be able to use filters on this either. And the guys shooting a lot of videos, filters is key to what they're doing. So, right, positives: really good build, solid lens, it feels like quality. Images is pretty good. I'm really happy with it. I'll do a comparison for you on screen as well. Negative, the main negative, two main negatives, is the bulbous front element and the fact that you can't put filters on. Unfortunately, I cannot state it enough. Last point: nighttime, nightscapes, astro work, fantastic. The 2.8 is really good. Yeah, in a nutshell, that is it. I will put all the links to the technical specifications of the amounts of aperture blades and all those kind of things and elements, and if you're interested in all that kind of stuff, I'll put the link to the lens on the Tamron website in the notes below. Personally, I like to take a lens out of the box, put it on, see what I get with it. Half the time people don't even read what all the stuff is inside, so they just want something that works, that gives them good results. So I'll put the link with all the technical stuff at the bottom there for you. So that's it. The Tamron SP 15-30 f2.8 with VC. That's it. Thank you very much. I'll in a couple of minutes, couple of seconds, you'll see a comparison video between the Canon, the 17mm, where I'll show you the width on full frame, and I'll do it on crop sensor on my 7D as well, so you'll be able to see the difference in width. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next one. Right. Right guys, at the moment I've got my Canon 17-40 f4 on my Canon 7D Mark II crop sensor body. This is zoomed in to 17mm, so you can see what the width is on a crop sensor, and if you do a quick math, it works on to roughly about 27mm width on the crop sensor. Let's do a quick zoom into 40mm so you can have a look at that on the crop sensor. There we go. So you'll see that takes up almost, that goes more than about 60mm in focal length. Alright, so let's move that back again quickly so you can have a look. That is 17mm at the widest on the Canon 7D Mark II. Right, let's have a look at the Tamron SP 15 to 30 f2.8 and its different focal lengths on the Canon 70 Mark II. Okay, right, now you've got the Tamron SP 15 to 30 f2.8 VC lens on the Canon 70 Mark II on the crop sensor. Currently it's zoomed out to 15mm, so that works out to quick maths, it works out to roughly about 24mm on the wide side. Let's zoom it into 30mm and let's have a look. Right, that's nearly 50mm on the crop sensor focal length, true focal length, and you can see there's very little difference between the 1740 and the 15 to 30mm on the crop sensor itself. So right, let's move it back to the 15. I've used this lens quite a bit on my Canon 70 Mark II to shoot some time lapses, purely because the camera has got built-in time-lapse function, and it's a little bit wider than what my 1740 is on the crop sensor, but other than that it's not a major difference. Right, let's move over to the full frame. Right, here we go. This is the Canon 17 to 40 f4 L USM lens on the Canon 6D full frame body, zoomed in to 17mm, its widest. You can see it's got a really nice field of view. This is really my workhorse lens. It's nice and light, it's portable, it's easy to carry, it's sharp, it does the job fantastically, and the next thing, it's pretty cheap as well, which is quite a big plus point, especially if you're looking into buying your first wide angle lens for a full frame body, for a full frame Canon body, that is. Unfortunately I cannot comment too much on the Nikon lenses. I haven't worked much with them yet. So alright, so there you can see. Let's zoom this into 40mm. There you go, 40mm zoomed in on the Canon 6D with the Canon 17 to 40mm lens. In a moment I'll do some comparison shots for you at f4, f8, f11, just to look at corner sharpness and all those kind of little nitty-gritty things. Right, next up we've got the Tamron SP 15 to 30 f2.8 VC lens on my Canon 6D full frame body. Currently we're sitting at 15mm at the widest on the 15 to 30mm lens, so you can clearly see the width in that. Right, let's zoom it in now to 30mm to have a look. That zoomed in to 30mm on the 6D full frame body. As you can see, it's quite a nice field of view. Personally, I'm a big 35mm lens fan, so that can work really nicely. Let's move it back to 15. That is a really nice point of view. Very little difference between that and the 17 to 40. So if you're after weight and price and all those little things, the 1740 will still be my personal choice. Again, like I said earlier, for astro work, this is the lens you need to have if you're working on a budget for a really good lens. Right, I'll be doing the same comparative shots with this as I just did on my 1740, and then I'll put the two of them side by side for you to have a look at. Right, let's have a close-up look of the lens on my Canon 6D body. There you can see that big bulbous front element at 15mm. Right, I'm just going to do a quick zoom for you so you can see the total effect. Moved into 30, out to 15. Alright, just something I want to show you guys as well. The minimum focus distance on the Tamron SP 15 to 30 f2.8 lens is 28 centimeters, or right, how much? That's roughly just under a foot for the people in overseas looking at this. The one thing I forgot to mention is that the 2.8 factor. If you're buying this lens for the 2.8 to get any sort of background blur or bokeh, you're making a big mistake. You physically gonna have to shove that thing up a person's nose to get any sort of blur at the background, because it's so wide. That is the last thing that you will need to think of when buying a lens like this, is what type of background blur you're gonna get. It's definitely not made for that. If you want background blur, you're gonna shoot longer focal lengths, 35, 50, 85, 100, 200. Then you're going to start seeing really good background blur, not on a wide angle lens. Right, I'm back in the office now with the images that I shot from my quick test shoot with the Tamron SP 15 to 30 f2.8 VC lens, and we're just going to have a quick look at some of the raw files on the computer in Lightroom, just to do a couple of comparative things between the Tamron lens and my Canon workhorse lens, just to get a good perspective of the quality and what it does and what it looks like. Right, so let's start off with the wide angle shots, because those are the ones that people are interested in seeing. Because if you buy a 15mm lens, you want to shoot it at 15. Right, so let's have a look between the Canon 17mm, as you can see in the top right hand corner here, and the Tamron 15 to 30 lens is the other one. Right, so unfortunately Lightroom does not have a lens profile yet for the Tamron lens. It might have one in the latest updates now, but let's just do a quick comparison there. So you'll see at the top there Canon 17mm EF 17 to 40 lens and the Tamron SP 15 to 30 lens on the right hand side. There you can clearly see the width difference between the two lenses, and really it is marginal. It is very, very little on the wide side. Both of these lenses, both of these images were shot at f4, ISO 400, 1/250th of a second on this one, and 1/500 because it was a couple of minutes later. Right, so let's have a quick look here. This is on f4 at the widest. Let's have a look at the corner sharpness quickly. Okay, this is the Canon lens. So let's just have a look at the same little bush here, which is this one. And you can see that the Canon lens is marginally sharper on the corners at f4 than the Tamron lens that we can see here. Let's see if we add a little bit of exposure to both these. No, it's not gonna make a major difference because I've already synced them so that the exposures look the same. So there you can see it. Let's have a look at the top corner. You won't really see. Bottom right hand corner. Same story. If you compare these two little shrubs here, as soon as you start moving inwards, the Tamron gets a little bit sharper. Obviously that's out of the complete wide angle view. Right, let's have a look at the next one, which will be the f8. Both of them shot at f8. That is so much better, and actually here you can start seeing that the Tamron lens is looking better than what the Canon is looking on the left hand side. This is f8. You'll see there ISO is still 400. f8 1/50th of a second, that's 100th of a second. The light difference, I've synced the two of them, so exposure value is basically the same. The Tamron lens is definitely sharper along the edges and the corner than the Canon lens. That looks really, really good. Let's look at the other side. And you can see this, just bring this one up. And you can see the same story here with the Tamron lens on the wide section. This little shrub in the corner here was a lot closer to the camera when I was shooting it. Right, so f8 looks really, really good. Very happy with that. Right, now let's look at the next one, which will be just go up there, which will be at f11. Going to compare. Okay, left hand side the Canon one. You'll see 1/40th of a second, f11, ISO 400. f11, ISO 400. So let's have a look at f11. Is normally my workhorse aperture that I will shoot my landscapes at, and it's really a brilliant aperture on most lenses to get that sweet spot to get the best out of your shots. And here both of them look pretty much the same to me. Can't really see a major difference in the two. Definitely f8 was a lot better on the Canon lens, on the Tamron lens versus the Canon one. Let's go over to the right hand corner. Now it still looks really good, really good. I am very happy with that. Let's have a look at the detail in the mountain here. See if we can zoom in a little bit closer. Won't make a major difference there. It is quite far away if you look at the photo. Right, the other thing that we need to go look at is chromatic aberration. And I did this is a very straightforward shot just to get some chromatic aberration happening on the lens if there was going to be. And I shot the 2.8 lens at f4 as well, because otherwise it won't be a true comparison between the 17 millimeter and the 15 millimeter. So let's have a look. Here we've got, this is the Tamron at 15 millimeters f11. This one is the Canon lens at f11. So now we've got Tamron on the left, Canon on the right hand side. And the reason why I did this, I just shot this dark little shrub here against the bright light of the sky, just to get that difference in contrast setting that normally brings out the chromatic aberration or the fringing on the edges. So let's have a quick look what it does here. On the Tamron lens it looks really clean. I can't see any noticeable, there's been no lens corrections done on this whatsoever. I don't see any fringing on any of these edges that is noticeable. There's a little bit of green on the Tamron one here. There's quite a bit on the Canon one here in the final branches. The edge of the mountain looks good. Yes, that looks actually really nice. Both of them are looking well. The Tamron lens is definitely better at chromatic aberration fringing than the Canon one in this particular image. So let's have a look at two wide aperture ones. We've got an f4 on this one, and there we've got an f4 on this one as well. So, and you know, lots of the times most of the fringing will happen on the wider apertures, and here you can clearly see it. the Tamron lens is handling it very, very well. If you compare just that little branch over there and this one here, you can see there's a clear difference, and there's some blue fringing on the twigs here and on the edges. There's nothing that you can't sort out in post-production, but obviously if you can shoot it better and more correct in camera, the less production time you need to spend. Yeah, the Tamron lens is way better than a Canon lens at f4 on fringing and chromatic aberration. Yes, if you look at the corners here on the Canon one, there's even some purple coming through in that one as well. Now, clearly the Tamron wins hands down here. Okay, chromatic aberration, Tamron is there at the top of the line. Corner sharpness, Tamron is up there with the. I've not compared this with the Canon 16-35 f2.8. I've compared this with my workhorse lens, my Canon 17-40, and so far those little nitty-gritty things, the Tamron is way ahead of that one. Now I want to quickly look at a couple of images that I shot with the 15mm lens. This was it on my Canon 6D full frame, so no editing done, and the colors and everything is really nice in this one. And with a little bit of editing, you can get some really nice stuff happening to this image. And that's just a very basic quick sliders adjustment. Contrast and colors looks really good. Sharpness, as we saw on the previous ones, is right up there. This was shot at f2.8 actually. I literally just slapped the lens on the camera and took a shot. So you can see it's a little bit lacking on the corner sharpness, wide open, but that's a pleasing photo. Okay, this is some astro work that I did using my Canon 6D and the Tamron 15mm. This is a 2.8 shot, wide open, 30 seconds. You'll see there 30 seconds f2.8, ISO 2560. This is a raw file. You can see it's not been touched at all, straight out of camera as you can get it. So let's have a look at the corners here. Definitely a little bit of, let's just increase this so you can see. Definitely some blur happening there, not sharp in the corners, but it can be expected. This was right on the ground. I was laying on my side to get this shot lined up with the tripod, so that can be expected. Looking at the tree itself, it is pin sharp. Nothing wrong with it. Really good detail. Just keep in mind, I just pushed the eyes, the exposure there quite a bit to get some detail in. But if you look at that and a tad of clarity, it's perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong. That's a beautiful detail in that image. This is what makes the 2.8 come to life. Shooting astro stuff. I simply love it. There's very few things as rewarding as shooting astro photos. This is a TIFF file that's been edited. This is done, ready to go. And here again you can have a look. I've done some noise reduction on this. The corners is not fantastic, but again, really close to the ground. The detail in the tree is perfect. Let's have a look at another one. At 15mm ISO 2.8, there's no, I didn't do any light painting in this photo. It's a little bit skew, I need to fix that. But let's just push this quickly. And these trees were a little bit further away from me than what the previous one was, so you can have a look. Really good detail in the bark, in the branches. Very nice. No, I was, like I said, I was quite blown away with the quality in the astro stuff with that 2.8 lens. Another one, same story. Again, a little bit soft in the edges, totally understandable. And here is a 1.5 hour star trail photo that I captured using that particular lens. This is shot ISO 100 for 1.5 hours long, and you can see there a little bit of hot pixels. It's one single exposure, it's not multiple exposures. Quite a bit of hot pixels, very few fine ones happening there in the shadows, but you can look at that. The detail is phenomenal. I was really blown away with the shot. Again, close to the camera, corners a little soft, but it's a 2.8. It's understandable. But I was very impressed with this lens shooting astro stuff. Right, there you have it. The quick image review on the Canon SP 15-30 f2.8 VC lens. I hope you enjoyed it. If there's any comments, any feedback, anything that you want to leave, please drop a comment below. I will link to the lens, like I said earlier, in the notes on the Tamron website, where you can see all the technical details. And until the next one, enjoy, and I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody. Thank you.